All right. Well, it looks like we're at the top of the hour. It's 5 p.m. Pacific time here, so I guess we'll officially get things underway. My name is Rebecca, and I am part of the team here at Excel Guru. I'm usually behind the scenes. I do everything sort of administrative communications, that kind of stuff. I don't ever present. So you have to bear with me today. Hopefully everything goes smoothly. Ken is over in Vancouver leading a self-service BI bootcamp for a client there. So I'm taking over hosting duties. We're super excited to have Alex Powers here presenting tonight. I'm just going to go quickly through sort of our intro slides like Ken usually does. So as I said, we have Alex Powers here. He's going to be introducing Microsoft Fabric to us and how, as Power BI users, it's something we can still use. Normally we have a What's New in Power BI portion of our Power BI meetups, but Joseph Yates, who usually does them for us, is not available tonight. He is on new daddy duties. His wife and he just had their first child, so he won't be able to join us. I'm not sure about next month if we're going to have a What's New in Power BI. We'll keep you guys posted, but yeah, so as always, we couldn't do these events without our sponsors. The title sponsor is SkillWave. That's our online learning platform that Ken Pulse and Matt Allington run, having training available on Power Query, Excel, Power BI, DAX, a whole bunch of amazing stuff. And Excel Guru is the parent company. That's who I work for with Ken. And of course, Monkey Tools is the Excel add-on that Ken has developed as well. For the upcoming meetups, we have next, the first one in November, Danielle Stein-Fairhurst is going to be joining us from Australia. She has presented in the past. She's really great. So she's going to be presenting on reducing errors in Excel financial model. And then we actually are going to have a bonus meetup, an extra Excel one on November 16th. Our good friend Jan Karl is going to be joining us from Holland, and he's going to be giving an introduction to VBA class modules. So Jan Karl's a good friend of Ken's, been an MVP forever. I guess they were having a discussion about some technical thing the other day, and they decided, oh, let's do a meetup and let's do it right away instead of waiting for the new year. So we have an extra bonus meetup in November. And then our Power BI track for November is going to be on the 23rd. We have Halil Gagormis from Turkey joining us. And then our last one of the year is going to be both Excel and Power BI track. Alex Kolokolov is coming back to do the dashboard cemetery walk. This was a presentation we had lined up in January, but unfortunately last minute he wasn't able to present. So Ken had stepped in that evening. So we have Alex coming back in December to give us the good, the bad, and the ugly of Power BI dashboards. The registration's open for the first two, and then the November 23rd and December 7th, the RSVPs will be open in the coming weeks. And what else do we have? Ken's Excel Fundamentals Bootcamp is one of his signature courses that includes twice monthly Ask Ken Anything sessions. So along with all the video training is a chance to sort of one-on-one be with him online to ask questions. And yeah, so the next session of that is coming up November 8th. And of course, his signature self-service BI bootcamp, which is the course that he's leading for clients right now in a private session. So the public one is, again, starting November 8th for that as well. As always, as long as I don't screw this up, the recording of the event will be available afterwards on the SkillWave YouTube channel. And also on the SkillWave YouTube channel, we have Ken's Monkey Shorts videos. These are great little 3-minute clips to learn techniques, lots to do with Power Query and Excel. The two featured ones that we have for this meetup is shifting non-aligned columns in Power Query, and then also numbered group rows in Power Query. I don't know if anyone follows us on social media on the SkillWave channels, but we just posted an article Ken had wrote a while ago about numbering group rows and following that up with a handy recipe card that he's made for that. And finally, as always, we're looking for new speakers to join us. If you're interested, just fill out the form there, and actually it comes through to me, and I'll be in touch, and hopefully we can get you presenting here in front of us all. So without further ado, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I'm going to turn everything over to Alex so he can introduce us to Microsoft Fabric.
Fantastic. Thank you, Rebecca. And taking over my screen share. Hopefully we'll see a PowerPoint deck in just a moment. Awesome. If I can get a confirmation from you, Rebecca. Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I can see it there.
Woo. Well, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Love the warm introduction here to the group as well. Everyone, just please give all the thank yous and the kudos here to Rebecca taking over for Ken on the first time. As a user group leader and moderator, I know it's a lot of work to kind of bring folks together, and throwing events like this is just tremendous work behind the scenes. So thank you, thank you, thank you. With that though, oh my goodness, I am so excited to be here. A lot of this session tonight was, the last time I was here, Ken was like, that Microsoft Fabric thing, I'll never use it. I'll never look at it. I've got too much stuff going on with Power BI and kind of Excel and Power Query and everything else. And I just had such a great laugh for that. I was like, Ken, what are you talking about? I was like, this was made for us. So I love that I was welcome back. I love that I get to have this discussion here. I am a little heartbroken that he wasn't able to make it, but I look forward to him catching up on the recording tonight. Any point in time, though, please ask questions. I'm very interactive in discussion, so I'll be asking have you done this? Have you tried this? Interact either through the chat. If you want, raise your hand, come off mute. Like I said, I love having kind of an open discussion here with the community. But tonight it is going to be focused on Microsoft Fabric for Power BI users. What are the skill sets? What are the things that you should start thinking about? I know it seems like it's a lot. You're hearing about this probably through like social networks or maybe some of the blogs. Where to even start? I just want to let you know there's no place to start. Like you already have all the talents. You already have all the skill sets. How do we start accelerating those with some of the new experiences that are kind of within your fingertips now? So with that, I do want to first introduce myself. My name is Alex Powers. I'm a member of the Fabric Customer Advisory Team, formerly titled Power BI Cat. So if you see Fabric Cats running around, just know that I'm part of that team. Love kind of getting with the community here. Especially love Power Query Toto for all my friends there. I am located in St. Louis, Missouri as well. So I'm in the middle of the West, I guess as they define it. Starting to get cold. So when people are saying it's 95 degrees in their area, I was like, oh my goodness, it's such a vast different experience there. Professionally, my kind of learning journey has been through Excel. I love that we were talking about VBA. I was like, oh my goodness, I haven't touched that in so long. It's so much fun too. Power BI, kind of learning through the Dashboard and Day series. M is for Data Monkey. Kind of love learning that too. Somebody take it over. I think it's Derek. Derek's taking over my screen. Rebecca, I'm gonna need your help. We got to go back.
Dude. Okay.
It's fine. Let me try share it again.
Okay. Sorry.
Then we'll see.
I'm not good at this stuff.
All good. All good. Like I said, we'll learn on the fly. Thanks, Derek, for moving me along there. I'm a co-pilot to a co-pilot. I don't even know what's going on anymore with this whole AI thing. I just go to Bing and ask it questions. Professional, though, I absolutely love my cats. Once I get done with this call, I'm going to hang out with them tonight. Hopefully just catch up on a little pro wrestling from last night. I missed it. I was too busy having fun with some KQL, if you've ever heard of that language. If not, look into it. And then always my favorite here, just playing around with data. I always think it's the world's greatest Tetris puzzle. I love Nintendo NES. I love 8-bit games. I love the complexity and simplicity. They're always very difficult too. So I was like, did I ever beat a Nintendo game when I was growing up? I don't know. I can't remember. With that, though, I do want to kind of focus on, what are some of the challenges that Microsoft Fabric is solving especially when you look at your organization, you look at your clients that you're maybe serving. A lot of it here kind of coming back to like limited scale and kind of limited resources, especially as people are wanting to do more things with data, wanting things to do faster with data. Just everything is producing data exponentially. Balancing this need where a lot of business analysts are starting to get into these professional skill sets, where it was always kind of distant for us in the past. They're like, we'll never give you access to the database. It's like, well, I'll just connect with Power Query. I'm connected to a table. It's writing SQL for me behind the scenes. I don't need to worry about this stuff anymore. I'll kind of learn it as I go. I always love this kind of breaking down the data silos too. Just we have people, their skill sets are just continuing to grow and grow, whether it be through YouTube, whether it be through like user group communities, SQL Saturdays, as people are kind of posting here. People are just finding new ways to kind of learn with others, take the journey too. That's always kind of my favorite part. And then also just looking at the actual promise of analytics. You have all these tools at your disposal. How do we get the most maximum value from them? Especially with the people who are closest to the problem and understanding, here's the business problem. I have the business domain. Give me the tools and resources and I can go and tackle this. Especially as just more and more data is kind of being generated. So when we talk about Microsoft Fabric, it's kind of stepping back here. So Microsoft Fabric is the next evolution here. A lot of our different platform as a service offerings. So whether that would have been Azure Data Factory, Azure Synapse Analytics, or even some Microsoft Power BI, how do we start looking at bringing those experiences into just a single unified platform with one experience? What do they also call it? One architecture, one product. And then I always had a good laugh when everyone said, yeah, and it's also one bill now too. I was like, yes, you're right, absolutely. You don't have to pay 7 different products. It's all built into just kind of one package here. I'm really excited here, especially with like a Data Factory and Power BI, and then kind of the foundation as well with OneLake. So I want to kind of hit home on here in the next slide. So when we look at our data and we look at the experiences, a lot of it is going to be your data storage. So with Microsoft Fabric, they've got this new unified format, just adopting the open source standards. We'll talk about that here kind of later on, but it's your data, whatever engine you'd like to use. If you're like, I just wanted to do Power BI, absolutely. If you're like, well, I want to start writing data science experiments on top of it, kind of using copilots and AutoML, exact same data, just plug into it, start running those experiments. If you're like, well, I need a data warehouse, I've got this cloud scale analytics, I've got massive gigabytes, terabytes of data, billions of rows. There you go, point and click. It's just that easy to get started here. And all that data is shared kind of at this fundamental layer. So when we talk about this data, it's titled OneLake, and I love this term. It is the OneDrive for data. So it is your data, it is your storage. So it's this single data lake for your entire organization. So maybe you're in the sales department, you want to share your data with someone over in marketing. You don't have to copy that. You can just go ahead and create those links out to that data. No more duplication, kind of using shortcuts within the OneLake. And then this is automatically provisioned for your tenant. So if you're using Power BI today, you already have a provisioned OneLake. Those OneLakes as well already stored within that workspace. So your workspace, all of your OneLake data is stored within there. Here's sales, here's marketing, here's HR. Again, just kind of having a unified ability to share across environments. And then just some behind the scenes things here with respect to like governance and compliance too, where a lot of that is done through kind of the Microsoft Purview Hub that's now built into Fabric as well. So we're talking about data. Of course, we want to start doing things with our data. So the first time you land out in Microsoft Fabric, it might feel a little overwhelming. I know it did for me, kind of as a Power BI user. I'm looking at the new experiences that I can go out and start building here. I'm trying to ground myself in saying, well, I'm comfortable with reports. I'm comfortable with data sets, data flows, maybe even a little bit of scorecards there. I'm not too sure about this KQL stuff, data engineering with Lakehouses and writing notebooks, Spark, looking at data factories, well, data pipelines. It just goes on and on and on. Kind of pause here. Has anyone in this group started looking at or using Fabric as of yet? Or is it just a term that you're starting to see kind of through the social networks? I'll pause here. You can leave a comment in the chat. You can raise your hand. You can give me a thumbs up. I'm just very curious. Has anyone started exploring Microsoft Fabric as of yet? And then a kind of follow-up question, was it overwhelming when you first stepped in and you're like, oh my goodness, what do I do with all this stuff? Or did you kind of have a pretty good feel for some of these items? Well, just starting to see the name pop up. Yeah, just learning. Awesome. Not yet. Cool. Watched a lot of videos, just getting to do some hands-on now. Oh, fantastic. Yeah, and it really does take a little bit to kind of get started, get ramped up, and that's why I'm so excited, at least tonight. I want to ground it in something that we're already doing. I'm not introducing anything new. I'm just saying, here are your existing skill sets. Let's start mapping those into Microsoft Fabric. Cool. So we're closing our eyes. We're thinking about being back at the desk. Maybe it's on Monday, especially if you're taking Fridays off. So here's an end-to-end analytical scenario I'm sure a lot of us are familiar with. Here's some data. Maybe it's in a database. Maybe it's in a spreadsheet. Maybe it's some text files, CSVs, whatever it may be. We want to start ingesting and transforming that. So data flows, the authoring kind of utility there is going to be Power Query. So if you're using Power Query today in Excel, hopefully you're using Power Query as well within that Power BI desktop. A lot of that exact same skills, again, transferable. There'll be some very cool things here with respect to data pipelines that I'm just like, I just want to tell everyone, I want to shout out from the rooftops here of why I'm so excited about pipelines and data flows. Is kind of that 1-2 combination, and then storing it and enriching it here in a lakehouse. We'll start with that. It's kind of our storage layer. And then we'll move into kind of the business intelligence, and that's delivering, Power BI reports, maybe a scorecard or a dashboard, whatever it may be. This will be that scenario, though, that I want to focus on tonight. So with that, I am done. Get out of here, PowerPoint. We're getting into some actual demos. So again, at any point in time, as we're going through the material, if you want to raise your hand, we'll get you in the queue. We can get you on the mic. Ask a question. Let's make sure you kind of leave tonight with all the dots connected, because I do want you to leave this and go, whew, this Fabric thing, I got it. Like, there's nothing new here. I could go and build a Fabric project. So with that, let me go and stop sharing this screen. We're going to jump over to my window in my browser, and give me one moment here.
Sorry, Alex, it looks like you're muted.
Thanks for catching me. There we go. Whew. Awesome. So hopefully you can see the screen. It's just a standard workspace that you're doing today within your Power BI experiences, adding new content, whether it be uploading, publishing. What I'm going to look at here is I'm going to go to that new icon, and I'm kind of curious. Like, I just showed all these Fabric experiences. Where are they hiding, Alex? I don't really know. I'm kind of looking around. The big important thing I'm going to call out is the persona switcher down here in the bottom left-hand corner. So if you're working on a Power BI project and that's the only thing you want to focus on is kind of those items, absolutely, they're right there. If you want to switch over to Data Factory, maybe look at those data flows or even the data pipelines, it's just a simple click here. And then that way, those new items, the creation is just there. You can also jump back into your workspace. If you go to new, kind of some of those items are now shown. But I like sticking in the Power BI items here. So with that, back in my workspace, if I was to go up to new, and I want to get to all of the Fabric items, just so I can have a clear vision, I'm going to select this more options. Cool. So I've got this reflex here, and this is for automation on top of your data. Maybe it's like, did my results go up or down? I need to hit the 95% tolerance. Send me a notification if something goes off there. You can have that automation now built on top of your data. That data engineering, we talked about the Lakehouse. That'll be one of the first things that we kind of look at here. Talking about storing big data for cleaning, querying, reporting, and sharing. I'm going to be honest with you, I don't have any big data that I need to store. I just need to store some data. So with that, I'm going to go and do a Lakehouse. I think the big data title is maybe one that I'll kind of recommend we kind of look at here. So let's do a sales Lakehouse demo. I'm going to press create. Cool. This is now spinning up a Azure Data Lake Gen 2 storage behind the scenes. Traditionally, you'd have to go to the Azure portal, you'd have to click on the buttons, deploy this resource. Not anymore. Point and click of the button, it's automatically done. So with this, I now have storage for my data, storage for my files. So we'll create some tables here in a little bit with some data flows, but I actually want to create and upload a few files here. So I'll just say, let's go ahead and create a new subfolder. Got a couple images I created out on Bing the other day. I'm going to go ahead and drill into that subfolder. I'm just going to upload some files real quick. Cool. Yep, get out of here. I'm going to upload my wrestling photos. I'm a huge fan. Go ahead and press upload. And done. Now see here, wrestling with data, big data engineering fan here with Power Query. I love the transformations, but just like that, I now have a lakehouse for storage of my files. I can set up folders, complete logical structures, whatever I want to do here, add more folders and subfolders. And then here at the new shortcut, that's where I can also share these with other people. So in that way, I don't have to duplicate my data. I can just say, here's some resources, take them to your workspace if you'd like. Then that way, they'll just be a pointer back to these files. Cool. So I've got these files. I'm going to talk about tables here. And really, that's going to be kind of the fun part here for a lot of us. Up in the very top, I'm going to call out kind of this entry point here that I want you to remember. I'm in my Lakehouse now. I'm going to now go into this new Dataflow Gen 2 experience. Kind of give this a second to wake up. Come on. There we go. Kicking me over. Awesome. So I'm now in the modern updated Power Query Online experience. It's got the updated icons. So if you're still using kind of Excel or maybe even Power BI, kind of more of that classic 90s looking interface. If you're like me, you're asking, when is this coming locally? I want the new updated cool stuff. Stay tuned. Some very cool announcements coming here soon. So I'm going to go ahead and just import kind of a quick Power Query template. I'm going to save the whole get data from CSV. That would take me like 2 hours to do with everyone here on the line. I haven't remember all the file paths. So I'll just go ahead and connect to these real quick. And then nothing new here in terms of the overall experience. You're using Power Query today. You're connecting to your data today. You're making transformations as well. One of my favorite parts, though, I'm going to go ahead and refresh the browser here real quick, is the diagram view within Power Query. So if you're more of a visual transformation, kind of seeing your data, how it's laid out, being able to start connecting it here across different tables, I want to go ahead and make a kind of a connection here between my different product tables. So I need to merge these into just one big table. I don't want these three different things for kind of my data set. So with this, I'm actually going to look at my dim product table. I'm going to go ahead and merge this now. So I'm going to say, let's go ahead and merge this as a new query. And then my bottom query here is going to be my dim product subcategory raw. Awesome. Did anyone see what just happened? Anyone see this? Top right. It automatically detected my relationships for me. So this is that built-in AI that we had kind of talked about here with Microsoft Fabric. So it looked through the different schemas and said, hey, I recognize that these two columns match in title or very similar. And I would recommend that you go and use these as kind of your lookups. If I click this now, I don't have to go through the full scrolling that we generally do with Power Query. It automatically has that detection. So I'm going to use my inner join here because Contoso has the most perfect data in the world. They never have any messy data to clean up. And then with that, with my visual diagram, I can see that my two tables have now been joined. Awesome. I'm going to scroll down here again. I'm going to join this product category. So I'll click on this. I'll select merge. I'll do this one more time. And then I think I have to expand this one really quick. So give me a second. Yep. Awesome. Let's go ahead and merge that and expand that. So I just need the name and the key. And then we'll do our merge again. merge my lookup. Fantastic. Top right, found that light bulb. So I've got 3 possible suggestions here. Product category key to category key, subcategory key to category key. No, that ain't it. And then kind of the key to the label. Close, but not it. So this one most likely match. Again, I didn't have to scroll all the way to the right. I didn't have to read every column that was in my table. I was automatically able to suggest these merging columns for me. Go and press enter. And TOSA with the cleanest data. And then I can go and press OK. And then just like that, in my visual diagram view, I have a pretty good idea of how these tables are now connected. I can also right-click these, select the highlight related queries, and all of this has now been highlighted for me. So if you're used to Power Query and you're like, the query diagram view in Excel, I know that that one's kind of more like a top to bottom. I think there might be some configurations for left and right too, but I love this new update here with kind of the visual diagram interface. Just give it a quick rename, just double click on the query title. Again, if I wanted to, I could also go ahead and kind of add some new steps here at the very bottom. But one of the most important things I want to kind of call out, it was very subtle, and a lot of people kind of miss it here on the first inspection, but we have these new data destinations. So I can take this data, I can move it, I can land it into various locations. At least for today, it's kind of a lake house. It's a warehouse, I think also kind of Custo, and then maybe Azure SQL database. But think in the future, SharePoint, maybe it's a OneDrive, wherever you want to kind of move your data through, will have this destination capability. I'm going to go ahead and create just kind of a new data flow here real quick. Let me go and do a publish later. Now I'm going to show you that complete walkthrough though. Let me do this. Awesome. I'm going to do a new, we'll do a data flow Gen 2. I'll do a quick table here. 1, 2, 3. My favorites. Demo of them all. Awesome. So I've got this table, add data destinations here at the very top. Azure SQL Lakehouse Warehouse. I've got my Lakehouse built. I'm going to go ahead and connect to this now. Press next. Then I can look for that Fabric for Power BI users. Awesome. We got that sales Lakehouse demo that we just built. We've got a couple files out there. I'm going to go ahead and create a new table though. And then I've got 2 different options here. I can either replace rows, so that will just delete every row that's within my table, or I can say just add new data, just as it comes in and as I refresh, just go ahead and append that here to the very end. So I'm going to go ahead and say, I just need to replace my data. Press save, and it's that easy. So if you've done SSIS development in the past, if you've had to build packages, run agents, all those crazy things, 3 clicks and we're done. So here in the bottom right-hand corner, I'll kind of make that call out here, data destination. I'm going to go ahead and zoom in real fast. So down in this corner, I have my details on Hover. Here's my workspace that I'm in. Maybe it's a different workspace that I want to write to. Here's my lake house that I want to write to, just that sales lake, and then my update method. So when I go ahead and run this, we should expect to see a table then land into our lake house. So let me go ahead and do that real quick. I'm going to disable that, and I'll come back to it. So publish now. Awesome. And then we've got our items out here. I'll say for right now, ignore these items, the staging, they will be hidden. They're just behind the scenes things you don't have to worry about, but I'll talk about kind of that scale that's now at your fingertips just with Microsoft Fabric. Cool. So we'll give that a quick second here. I just want to see that awesome refresh history. And then let me pause here. Has anyone started using Dataflow's Gen 2 as of yet? If you are starting to play around with maybe Microsoft Fabric, or is this kind of your first time seeing data destinations and just being able to kind of write out to kind of a location? Let me know. Cool. So that's giving a quick refresh here. Just copying those 3 rows, running it out into our lake house. First time. Awesome. And let me check on this real quick. I'm going to refresh the browser. Now it seems to scare it. First time seeing data destination. Yeah. It's pretty neat, especially as someone who's done Power Query for a long time. I've always wanted that capability to say, instead of the Excel spreadsheet or instead of like the Power BI data set, I really just need to land this into, a one lake on kind of like a OneDrive and like a refreshed cadence. I'm going to go ahead and take a look here, though, in the scheduled refresh details, just because I think it's really neat to kind of showcase start time. It now shows kind of the actual activities. So I can see that I wrote how many volumes of bytes out to my final destination and kind of the total refresh activity as well. So that's very cool that we have a little bit more improved details. I'll show some more here in a moment, but out in our Lakehouse. Awesome. So I've got my query that we loaded. It's got our numbers here. So those 1, 2, 3. And then I also recall just down here for files. So tables are what we'll be creating and kind of allowing other engines to start using. So there's my numbers, 1, 2, 3. Once again, I said a great demo. But these are these optimized files that Microsoft Fabric creates so that all the different workloads can start building stuff on top of them. So if I wanted to write a crazy notebook with Python and Scale and PySpark and all these other new languages that I'm hearing, absolutely, just new notebook and you're up and running. There's also a user interface, which I'll kind of show here in a little bit too. That's really similar to kind of a Power Query, and hopefully that will be exciting for you as well. If you're like, oh, I haven't started learning Python, do I need to know it? No, point and click interface. It's so much fun. All right, cool. Tables, optimize through the Fabric workloads. Files, just unstructured data, throw in whatever you want. Maybe it's data that you're getting ready to prepare for a table. Just kind of have that awareness that tables and files. Cool. So I'm going to close out of my Lakehouse. We're going to jump back into our data flow here. Awesome. So a few different tables. We've got our DIM products that we joined together. We can do the same here just with our customers and our kind of geography. I can just do the standard merging, just do the kind of the data preview. So I'll go ahead and close this out now, get out of here. And then I'll do a merge queries as new. Merge with our geography. Again, it looks through, it finds our match. I love that now. I don't have to do the column scanning. Perfect data. Again, Contoso is just I'm going to look for a job on LinkedIn through this company. They've got some good stuff going on. Merging it, preparing it, data's ready to go. Everything you're already doing today. Again, I'm not teaching you anything new. Cool. Data's ready. We're going to start just getting a few of these combined just a little bit logically. So I'll do a new group, see my data raw, no transforms, just copy it. Awesome. Putting some logical grouping here now. New group, data copied. No transforms, no merging. Whoop. Add a little description there. And then we'll call this kind of our data at scale. Need that Fabric compute. Awesome. So especially as Power Query users, sometimes we got large folders, whether it be like a SharePoint, thousands of files that we need to kind of go through and combine. Maybe it's a database with hundreds of millions of rows. We need to start looking at that and then figuring out, how do we get that into kind of our solutions in the most optimized way possible. I showed this very quickly earlier, but this is a default configuration. So I'm adding a massive disclaimer now, and I will ask the audience, like, what do you think about this default? It has this enable staging by default. So what this will do is it will go ahead and load this data into a data lake behind the scenes for you. It will then load it into a massive warehouse behind the scenes as well for those huge transformations at scale. So especially if you're just like, I've just got a 10,000 row, 40,000 row spreadsheet. I don't need that much. Turn it off. So I'll go ahead and turn this off now. DIM product raw, it's kind of the italicized. Go back onto my diagram view. So a lot of these items here, especially with merging or appending, they're just expensive operations. I need to have that compute. So here, I'm going to make sure these items are staged for this item. So we'll stage them. These items, I don't need to do any transformations at all. Just bring it into my my data lake here with that one lake. I'm going to disable enable staging. Just read the data as is, read it as is, read it as is. Awesome. And then my downstream tables, because I've done these merges, I've got these lightning bolts letting me know, hey, I'm going to throw some additional compute at this to help you do these large scale transformations, whether it be that merge, whether that be append, maybe it's like a distinct operation where it's got to do like a lot of row by row evaluation. On by default. Let me know your thoughts with that. Is it too much power? Do you need that much power out of the box? Or would you like, hey, I would prefer to just have that be an intentional action. I really only want to do that when I absolutely need it. Let me know your thoughts just through the chat. Or if you want to ask any questions, kind of coming off mute too. Cool. Yeah, we do. Data flows, Gen 2 Spotlight. Spotlights. Awesome. I'll drop this here in the chat. Miguel Escobar, obviously a very familiar name here within this group, did a fantastic blog about this. Kind of a great example here where he talks about if you just need to copy in your data, maybe it's a very small 100,000 rows, turn it off. Like the data volume doesn't warrant it. That's where I'm just like trying to really get a good pulse from the community of like, do you feel like this is a good default setting to have? Or would you be like, hey, I would rather just have it be off by default and I want to enable it only when I need to? So sharing those details. And then let me see here a couple questions. Is there still a difference in what can be done between license types of Pro and Premium? Yeah, so everything that we're doing with Dataflows Gen 2, it is through the Premium experience. So if you have Premium today, you have access to Fabric today, as long as your tenant admin has enabled it. Pro users still have the previous experience of data flows, so there's no add data destination in that capability. So just kind of something to be aware of if you're kind of looking at the different licensing options. Awesome. So Fabric Compute, read the blog article. Please take a look and just let me know, especially as you're looking through of like, that's an interesting default. I'm just seeing a lot of people kind of not needing it for a lot of their scenarios, and that's where I'm really trying to get a good gauge from the community. But another thing here, we did the add data destination for that one query. If I needed to do it for all of these, I'd have to go through that same click menu. That would just be a lot for me, especially if I had 50 queries in my solution. That would just get unruly after a while. Because we used the Lakehouse entry, so I like to call it the front door of the Lakehouse, because we did the new get data from Dataflow Gen 2, this very cool thing happened at the bottom. It added it as a default destination. So each one of my queries, because we used that front door of the Sales Lakehouse demo, it automatically did all of the destinations for us. So that little icon here, the default destination, just kind of remember that. That's always a neat trick that I always like to kind of share with folks. So default destination there. If I was to click here, default destination, default destination, default destination. It's just so fun that I didn't have to do it, saving me a little bit of clicks there. Cool. So I've got my queries ready and prepared. I'm going to go ahead and do that publish again. Yeah, thanks, Paul. I loved hearing that too. That's kind of my thoughts with respect to the kind of the off by default and just having it be a more intentional action that you need to take as opposed to kind of being the first thing you need to disable. Cool. So we've got our data flow going through the publish. We've got all of our different queries that are being processed. So with this, we should expect to see these tables then end up into our Lakehouse. So we'll let this process real quick, going through that metadata scan that I think a lot of people are familiar with on the data flow side, but it's going to start writing these into our lake. So we do a quick browser refresh. Awesome. There it goes, starting to work. Cool. pause here. Any questions with respect to kind of a lake house or even like the data flow gen 2? If this is the first time you're like, well, I've never even had access to a data lake house. Awesome. We've got a hand raised. Whenever you're ready, please feel free, Ashraf.
Hey, Alex, thank you so much for this
Yeah.
informative demo. Just a quick question. If
Yeah.
if I'm in the Power BI persona and I jump right away the classical way to create a data flow without
Yep.
creating a data lake or a data warehouse at all, where this data flow will be eventually stored?
Yeah, so the current generation, the data flow, at least Gen 1. So if you're looking at like this menu right here, this will be the Gen 1 experience. That's still stored behind the scenes in kind of the provisioned data flow storage for Power BI. That's not accessible by outside applications. You can still get to it through like Excel and Power BI. But if you wanted to share it with other systems, just not accessible. That's where the data flow destinations, for me, it unlocks a lot of value. So being able to write it out to, in my example, Lakehouse, but I want to see a OneDrive, I want to see a SharePoint in the future. Like that really is what I've been looking for Power Query for like the past 10 years. But be very intentional here. So if I go to more options, Data Flow Gen 2 is what we're looking at right now, which is under that data factory persona. And then Power BI, it has the data flow, no Gen 1 or anything else. It's just the straight data flow. Very similar, but I've seen a couple people get tripped up on those.
So in Data Factory, if I create a data flow in Data Factory without creating a data warehouse, where this is eventually data stored?
Yeah. So if I go back out here, and then these items should be hidden, but these are the things that were behind the scenes that I was just talking about earlier, where it's going to use some of that fabric compute and storage. So it's provisioning these lake houses and warehouses for me behind the scenes. Those will be hidden. It's out on the known issues page right now. So if you're like, what happened? What blew up in my workspace? Just know that in the coming weeks, these will be removed. Where you should look at though is having a actual destination for your data. So this is done. Again, I love this new refresh history. I can see exactly which tables succeeded, which ones failed, wasn't very accessible in Gen 1. And then I can see the actual writing activities at the bottom too. So here is where dim date wrote to my lakehouse, wrote to a web activity. If I go to my warehouse now, or I'm sorry, my lakehouse now, that was our final destination. Awesome. Here we go. There we go. All of my tables accessible through any application. I can go out, I can grab them, I can move them, I can do whatever I want. And then they're optimized as well for storage.
So just one last clarified question, please.
Yeah.
So to make the output of data flow reusable, I have to create either a data lake, lake house or a data warehouse. Correct?
No, because you still had the option here, at least for right now. If you wanted to write it to an Azure SQL database, you could do that as well. So if I wanted to change this into settings, actually, let me go ahead and delete it here in the bottom. Get out of here. The current options are Azure SQL, Lakehouse, Data Explorer, Warehouse. I would fully expect though to see OneDrive, SharePoint, Snowflake, BigQuery, or other applications in the future.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yep. Still early. We're still getting there, but always think of your queries now as needing a home. So where's the destination? Where am I going to store these? Where I think in the past, like the data flow was kind of a confusing experience, just in the fact of it was both your data preparation logic and it was also kind of a consumable item. It was always kind of a weird mishmash of experiences. Awesome. So let me go and close out of that. Lakehouse here, we've built our tables. They're ready to go. If I wanted to start building new experiences on top of them. The one thing I want to do is kind of looking at kind of a new Power BI data set. But first, I actually want to switch into like a SQL endpoint. So if you're someone who's more comfortable with writing SQL, and maybe you like writing some views for your business users, you don't need a full-blown data set. You're just saying, take this, do a group by, throw together a flat table, or maybe it's a quick and simple chart. You can come out here, and again, here are my tables from that lakehouse. I can do a new SQL query. Maybe I'll say just a quick select top 100. Here's my results. I wanted to, I could download this to Excel, and then I can have like a refreshable table for my end users, or I could just do a quick visualize these results. Not everything needs to be a full-blown report. It could just be, here's a quick and easy report. I can drag and drop. I can save this chart real quick. Here we go. Here's my data. I don't know what's out here. Geography type. And then we'll do a title. I'm not picking the best fields, I don't feel like. Awesome. There we go. Big flat table. Save as report. I don't need to do a full-blown Power BI desktop experience. I just needed some quick results. All done through the browser as well, which I think for people that maybe use like MacBooks or even like a Linux, if you wanted to do kind of data analytics, in the past, at least Power BI desktop was only for Windows users. I know folks generally spin up parallels and other things, but a little bit more accessible here just through the browser. So I can save this report if I wanted. I can throw it away if I don't need it. Maybe just like a quick one-off ad hoc request. I can save these to a view here within my actual kind of warehouse that my Lakehouse sits on top of. So I'll do a view, top customers, press OK. Cool. For those who write SQL today, hopefully this is a comfortable experience. Being able to see that you can now write SQL just on top of your data, if that's something you'd kind of prefer, as opposed to having to do everything in DAX and kind of these other languages. Awesome. Save. Okay, there we go. Whew, didn't yell at me that time. All right, it's yelling at me about something. I'll get out of this error. I'm able to create the view. All right. Get me out of this buggy state. Whew. All right, back out of it. Store your views, write functions. Maybe you wanted to kind of create your own kind of visual query diagram. New visual query, drag and drop your tables together. Maybe if I wanted to do that customer raw, maybe if I want to do geography raw. What does this look like? It looks like Power Query to me. So if you wanted to do using the Power Query interface here with your warehouse to kind of do those merges, do those joins, we can go ahead and do a merge here again. Queries. And then we'll do our geography AI indicator here in the top left or top right again. Cool. Give us the match. Yes. Fantastic. And then we'll expand that last column just because we know Power Query, you need to get that data. So let's do this. Awesome. You don't know SQL, but you want to get into a data warehouse. If you want to start joining these tables together and you're comfortable with Power Query, here you go. Same user interface. It's kind of an abbreviated ribbon. And one of the last buttons is always one of the most interesting ones. What do people think this last button does? This one right here. Kind of zoom in. What do you think that this thing does? You're like, Alex, I have no idea. What tricks are you trying to play? What is the thing you're trying to show us? Boom. That's the full-blown Power Query editor right there. Just hidden away. How would anyone have ever found it with that crazy square? I know I would have never found it. Rebecca, I see your hand raised. What's going on? Clapping, yes. Power Query Toto. Power Query is everywhere. I'm not a SQL person. If I enjoy using Power Query, the new visual query, if I want to have the full-blown kind of ribbon, just click that weird little square and it'll jump you right back into that editor. But always something I'm very excited about for there. Cool. And we'll say this is DBL. That was the issue. Joining customer. Cool. Press OK. We've now saved the view. If I do a quick refresh, awesome. Yep, get out of here. Doing a quick refresh here. Refresh. Close this out. There it is. So there's my joining customer. My view is available any point in time if people need to connect to kind of this warehouse. just using Power Query, using other experiences, point and click. That's all we did to kind of build this experience. Cool. Query Builder, we were just hanging out in Model Builder as well. So this is where we can start doing those relationships that we often do within our Power BI desktop application to kind of start joining our tables together. But actually, one of these things that I want to do is actually want to build a new Power BI data set and just have it be completely custom. I don't need all these raw tables in there. I already did those upstream for my kind of joining and merging together. So I'll do a new Power BI data set, and I'll choose which tables I want to bring in. Awesome. I don't need that query one. We know that that one was just kind of a throwaway. So I'll bring in all of these. I don't need the raw tables anymore. Customer, yes, fantastic. Cool. And I may need to jump over into another workspace real quick because I see I'm missing my fact table. Actually, that could be a good example too. Building our data set. Cool. And then I'm actually going to do something real quick because I forgot to bring in my fact table real quick. So I'm going to do new. I'm going to say a shortcut. So I've already brought in some data into another workspace. I don't need to copy it. I don't want to bring it in again. Really what I want to do is I want to go ahead and just link out to my existing. So I'll do my sales lake house here. I already have my tables. If we recall, these are the items that are optimized for analytics, which we're going to do with our data set. I want to go ahead and bring in my fact table here. I don't want to duplicate it. I just say use the location in which I have access to. So imagine results for over in sales departments, you're over in marketing. You don't want to copy their data over. You just want to link out to it. So here, bottom left-hand corner, we can see here that little icon. That's what's showing us that a link, a shortcut has occurred. And then you can also click on your table properties to kind of get some more details here, showing that it's a managed table. Awesome. So data is available. I've shortcutted it. I didn't need to copy it. I didn't need to prep it. Someone else has already done that work for me. Again, it's that one governance model. I want to go ahead and edit my tables here. And then we'll bring this in kind of with that shortcutted data. And then I'll ask a quick question. How many people have started using kind of the online web modeling experience thus far? Or is this maybe the first time you're seeing it? Yeah, very curious there. All right. Refresh. Oh, there we go. Everyone's still doing their relationship building just in a local Power BI desktop. Or have you started trying the online experience? First time seeing it, yeah. Having used it. Yeah, it's actually pretty neat. And kind of a colleague of mine, he's like, I've got an old laptop. It's probably 6 years old. It's running on its last leg. And he only does things in the browser now, just kind of using kind of the Fabric experience here. So I've got my tables. I need to create some relationships here. Exact same things we would do today. So I'll drag and drop my columns, customer to customer. I can go and say that, yes, there's many results here. There's one result here. Create that relationship. Yeah, use it a couple of times. Awesome. Let me know. How was the authoring experience when you kind of used it kind of in some of your testing? Create relationships here, dim and dim. My fact, yes. Still spinning wheels, cool. And let's do our employee key. So this is our store key to our store. Drag and drop here. Awesome. And because we do have some very clean data, we do also, though, have a many-to-one relationship with some bidirectional. So if you have that in some of your data sets today and you're like, oh my goodness, don't ever do that, it's fine. If the need calls for it. So here's my store key. Looking for my store key, there we go. So I have a many employees belonging to one store. This can go ahead and be both. And then we're going to do assume referential integrity as well. Why didn't the relationships pre-populate? So that's because I built a custom data set. With the automatic default data set, it actually does some of that auto detection for you. So if I was to kind of go back to the workspace real quick, there's this default data set, and let me know your thoughts. So I'll kind of zoom in here. It's going to try and detect relationships based on columns. It may not get the order correct. It may not get the right tables in the right order. Comments that I often hear from folks is, I want to have the decision of what I should be connecting. So that's why we went with the custom data set approach. Let me know though, Jack, what do you prefer? Do you prefer the trust of doing it yourself, or are you just saying outsource everything to the robots? I've got more important things to kind of focus on. Would love to kind of learn from you. Cool. There we go. There's the browser. And then this last one here, just with our product key to our product key. Come on. Ah! No, that didn't drop. Auto detection in your own data set would be golden. Yep. Yeah. Yeah, and I do think as things just continue to improve, obviously having more auto detection that we would feel comfortable with, as kind of practitioners like myself, I'd be comfortable with outsourcing some of those. But if the columns just don't match up, maybe naming things aren't consistent, that's where I would probably be like, hey, I just want to do the custom data set myself. So that way I have the full flexibility. Awesome. So let's go ahead and refresh that, get our layouts. We've got a nice star schema that may not look like it at the moment. There we go. Cool. I've not done anything new. I just keep coming back to that. Like, I know Power Query. I know how to build relationships with Power BI Desktop. I can start writing some measures here. So fact online sales, just do a quick new measure. We'll get our formula bar here at the very top. So we'll do our total sales amount. Everyone's favorite language with DAX, IntelliSense, yes. Fact online sales. And then sales amounts. There we go. Cool. So writing a new measure, building relationships, Power Query, everything that I'm doing today. If I wanted to customize this, maybe throw it into a folder, I can go ahead and say my measures folder here, add some of those properties, add some additional descriptions. This is the total sum of sales, enriching it for my end users as they're connecting to it and starting to build reports on top of it. All of that still possible here. I'll pause here. What is everyone's kind of initial thoughts here with respect to the web model editing experience? Does it look and feel very similar to what you're doing in Power BI Desktop today? Is there anything new or different that you were kind of expecting? You're like, well, where is that capability? I know it's still kind of within preview, but hopefully it's very reassuring to see everything you're doing, at least in the desktop, very transferable right now. Cool. Thanks, Powell. Yep. Thanks for hanging out too. Awesome. So I'm going to go ahead and collapse a few of these. I can go ahead and right click, collapse all, expand all, collapse all. Cool. So I've got this model. None of my data needs to be refreshed anymore here within the Direct Lake model. Everything is to go against that table that's out in my Lakehouse. So this is where you can see some very interesting things here. People are doing like 2 billion row demos. We did this over in Las Vegas with Phil Seamark. He did 2 billion rows in 1.6 seconds return speed for his queries. None of this data is cached in memory anymore. It's going to be queried directly against the lake, and it's only going to go against the slices of data that it absolutely needs. So if I was to do a new report, kind of being able to just drag and drop here on the canvas. We'll have our same visual editor here now. So if I wanted to go and do the customer key, and just give me a total counts. Boom. What do we have here? Let me go and make that a little bit bigger. 652. What is that? 271 million rows in less than a second. How many people is getting that response time now in your data sets? Less than 2 seconds for 271 million rows. That's pretty impressive. I mean, I didn't do anything new or different. I used Power Query. I did the web model editing experience to build this direct lake data set, 271 million rows, just like that. So this is the direct lake mode here that is now unlocked using Microsoft Fabric. And those optimized tables that we talked about earlier for our storage. So these are optimized for the analytics. Awesome. Then a question coming in here, will web and desktop be in parity or will web be first with new features? Yeah, so Jack, great question here. So the goal is to bring functional parity between the two experiences. I think for right now, what you'll see is Power BI Desktop, at least from the report authoring, still has kind of that just more capabilities where right now we don't have a lot of the, preview functionality and some of the other ribbons and cool things that are available. You can still build visualizations up here in the web. So if you don't have access to a Windows OS, I would say a lot of the things you can do today. In the future, though, I would say probably web, just in the terms of speed and development, as opposed to like a packaged bundle with desktop where it has like that monthly release cadence. You may see things just ending up in there first before they'll eventually kind of be brought down into the desktop experience. But hopefully that lag period will just be weeks as opposed to anything that would be kind of substantial. Awesome. So I know the folders for organizations on roadmap, but has the timeline been confirmed? I don't know about the timeline. I know in Vegas they'd mentioned if it's not the end of this year, then it's probably going to be early next. I would probably just say look at the kind of the Fabric roadmap or the Power BI roadmap to see if that item was kind of called out. But very soon. I know the team is working on it. Awesome. All right, cool. Direct lake mode data set, 271 million rows, blink of an eye. It's fantastic. I can keep adding more and more information here. Just if I needed to, add some products, color name, product name, just adding those here to my canvas, building some reports. Again, I'm not picking all the best things here right now, I feel like. There we go. Let's do that. So we'll do a quick bar charts and then get that legend out of here. There we go. Point and click, drag and drop. It's that easy. So the other experience I want to kind of focus on here now is I don't need to refresh my data for my direct lake model. So again, if I was to hover above here, storage mode is direct lake, not importing anything. It's just at the time of query that we're going out, we're fetching that information to go and render those reports. What I want to do though is I do need to set up a refresh schedule for my data flow. So what I'm going to do is just go into get data from a new data pipeline. So if you're heard about Azure Data Factory, very similar here in terms of the authoring experience. Again, I'm more of a UI business user. I'm comfortable with Power Query. So I'll kind of talk about this here. Sales pipeline. Press create. Awesome. So we're going to go ahead and build a data pipeline. I think some people were asking me either out on Twitter or even out on kind of a LinkedIn. No, yes, go ahead and cancel. Right now, when we look at our refresh options within like Power BI, whether it be like the data set or even like a data flow, daily, weekly, I have these 30-minute increments. I'm always hearing people saying, when can I do 15? When can I do every 5 minutes? When can I do this? And the answer is often, well, you have to look at a REST API, you have to write a Power Automate or something else to do automation. It just gets a little bit more complex. I just want to do a GUI approach. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that in my data pipeline. Let's go ahead and close this. I'm going to go ahead and add an activity. So here at the watermark canvas in the middle of our screen, add the pipeline. Second option in the list, data flow. I've got my data flow activity now. I can move it around my canvas. This is going to be my sales data flow, Contoso data flow. There we go. Go to my settings. Which data flow do I want to choose? If I was smarter, I would have renamed these. It was Dataflow 2 though. So in that option, I selected it here from within my list. If ever I needed to update it, get into the authoring canvas, I can just go ahead and click on that up here too. Within the dataset and Dataflow settings, if something fails, I can send an email. But I'll be honest with you, I don't use email anymore. Everything that I do is probably through Teams. Activities here at the very top. The very far right-hand side here, I actually have a Teams activity. So I've got Teams and I've got Outlook. So I'm going to add a Teams. Go ahead and say send on fail. And then I can go ahead and hit settings and log in just real quick. Awesome. Get my prompts. Luckily, good organizational security here. Allow access, yes. Cool. So this will return a list of all the channels or chats that I have access to. So I'm going to go ahead and post into a channel. This is where my team likes to collaborate. Here's my team, my data factory notifications. And then in our general channel, something broke. Help. A little generic, I know. And you're like, where are all the details? If we want to do that, we can add dynamic content. So here with my dynamic content at the bottom, I've got these different system variables. So what is the name of my pipeline? What is the name of the workspace? Kind of some of the IDs here. I can just go ahead and easily add these to kind of build an expression. So functions, I need to build a string. So I'm going to combine a few different items. So I'm going to concatenate workspace ID. It's going to be a single quote. I go ahead and just paste this in here, workspace ID. I'm going to say activity time, my comma again, and then the function here, my dates, it ran currently. So just at the very end of that runtime, just let me know when, and then I can go and press OK. So I can build dynamic messages. I can go ahead and add a bunch of metadata here that my team may need to do when in respect to like a failure event. So what I need to do then is go ahead and have a conditional activity path. So here in the right-hand side, I have my skip event. I've got a success. I've got a fail, and I've also got an on completion. So earlier I kind of set up the scenario, whenever something breaks, send that message. Otherwise, I don't need another item in my inbox. If it runs well, I'll sleep easy at night. So on fail, I'm gonna go ahead and just drag and drop this over, land it right on top, boom. So on failure event, I can go ahead and send a failure message. Maybe though, I've got some other data that I just want to copy in. I don't need to do any additional transformations. I can just do copy data. So I use my copy assistant here. So if I look at some of the different connectors, maybe it's an OData feed, maybe it's a Microsoft 365 graph, maybe it's a simple SharePoint online list. I don't need to use Power Query. I don't need to use the whole transformations. Just copy it as is, as raw as it may be. You can come out here and use that same interface that you'll see in the get data just within Power Query. Again, you can connect out to your warehouse and lakehouse that you have access to. So I'm going to go just do the kind of samples up here at the very top to grab some public holidays. Press next. I have that navigator window that I'm used to in Power Query over here in my pipeline. So here, there's my grid, there's my columns. Press next. Where do I want to land this? I want to go ahead and land it into my lakehouse that we created earlier. Press next. My existing lakehouse drop-down menu, sales lakehouse. Press next. And then what do I want to do with it? Do I want to load it as a new table, so just drop all the rows, reload it every time? Or do I just want to go and append to kind of my existing, just load it as a new table, drop the rows, and then here's my holidays. Awesome. Press next. I can go ahead and start the data transfer immediately. I'll go ahead and deselect that and press OK. I now have a new activity just out here on my canvas. So if I'm stringing a lot of these together, my holidays copy. When this is done and this is successful, go ahead and move on to the data flow. If not, I do want you to go ahead and send a Teams preview message on that as well. Just auto align these, just having a complete control flow. We did also demo at Vegas the ability to have your Power BI data set be at the very end of your refresh activity. So if you're not ready to do a direct lake model today, but you want to start using this orchestration, maybe you've got to build in Power Automate and some other solutions, but you're like, if I can do it all in this one window, I want to kind of move it over here. You can just imagine here at the very end of your data flow to say, go ahead and refresh your Power BI data set. That one's still being worked on, still coming soon, but hopefully very excited to kind of hear from the group. But tons of activities, whether it be like a for each loop, if you have like do loops or do until or do while, very familiar if you're from a VBA background. All those abilities are available here, just adding them to your canvas, just like that. So a graphical user interface for orchestration. The part that I'm really excited about though here is at the very top. So on the home schedule, the scheduling options, schedule to run. I now have by the minutes, I have hourly, I have daily, I have weekly. If we remember in the data set and data flow refresh window of the Power BI service, we just had that hourly and, or what do we have? Yeah, hourly, and we had the weekly. So if I wanted to do every 30 minutes, I'd have to do that thing 48 times by adding new time. Over here, just by the minute, 30 minutes, done. Press apply. Go ahead and start that right then, today. Awesome. I'm just waiting for the apply button. Come on. All right, let me try and refresh the browser real quick. Catching up to me. It's catching up. Cool. Well, hopefully folks are excited, especially if you've been, oh no, did I lose everything? Well, I'll do it real quick. So hopefully excited to kind of see some of these options, especially if you've been kind of dealing with the scheduling options within the existing kind of refresh capabilities of the service. I'll just press save. I didn't want to do the complete authentication flow here again. Schedule on frequency, 30 minutes. Start time. There we go, today. Yes. Oh my gosh, why is this? I'm like, what is going on? I've broken it. All right, end time. I didn't have to set that before, so I don't know what's going on. Set your schedule, let it run, hands off, but full flexibility. Or I know a lot of ideas have been kind of voted up for just better scheduling options here. I'll pause here though. Any questions with respect to kind of data pipelines? Everything that you've seen tonight, just done through the web browser, done through a UI. We didn't write any code. What are your initial thoughts here? If this is your first time seeing Fabric, or you've been hearing about it for a while and you're just like, I don't really know if I have the skill set to go and take that on right now. I would just love to kind of learn, was tonight kind of a refreshing kind of a experience to be like, hey, a lot of my talents and skill sets, I can apply to those right now, especially in like that 270 million row table, drag and drop. Everything we're doing today in desktop. Yes. All right. Sales, data flow. I'll just renaming a few things here, cleaning up stuff. Yes. So a lot of exciting stuff that you can start taking on. And then I'll do one last thing here and we'll kind of wrap up the night, at least for my portion. Here with your tables, I'll go to a new notebook. So if you wanted to start writing Python just up in the browser, if that's something you're comfortable with, if you want to write some Spark and PySpark, just using kind of a notebook experience, you can just come out here, just loading your information to a notebook, and then get one more thing. One more thing right here. So this is just spinning up kind of that workload cluster for us. Create a data frame. I'll show you one other cool thing here for the data prep folks. Awesome. Kind of waiting for that to run real quick. Cool. So we've got some data. It's kind of been rendered here for us. And then I'm going to create a new cell real quick underneath. And hopefully I can get it to work. Yes. And we'll use this table. All right. I'll have to look into that later. There's a new cool thing, Data Wrangler. It's a UI-based interface, very similar to Power Query. We'll go ahead and write Python for you. So something going on with the cluster. I'll have to look into that. But at the end of the day, the parts that I'm most excited about is just having the ability, just through the interface. We didn't touch any desktop applications. So especially if you have a resource, your machine is low on resources, didn't need it at all tonight. Come out here, use those AI experiences like in Power Query for detection. I'm spinning up an AI right now for the building a Power BI report for us, where it's going to start generating the different layouts and the bar charts and all the fun things. All this is built in though. Any thoughts or questions here before I kind of pass it back to Rebecca? I just want to say thank you everyone for obviously hanging out. I would encourage you here, at least from next steps, to please kick the can on Microsoft Fabric.
So
if you have
Alex,
access,
it looked like,
yeah.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say, it looks like Jack had a question in the chat about
yeah.
any idea of when the trial period ends.
Yes, and that's what I was just going to talk about. So the Tri-Fabric trial period, currently it will continue to be reset until general availability. So right now it's been kind of on a continuous 60-day loop. So I would encourage anyone to be like, oh my goodness, go out there and play with it for free. After the announcement of GA, that's when the trial period will start counting down from those 60 days. So after GA, we will still have the trial period. Please, please, please get your hands on it. Play around, see what you think. Let us know. Vote for ideas. At the end of 60 days, it's up to you if you want to go ahead and attach an actual capacity. Otherwise, after a kind of a set period, we'll just go ahead and delete those items that are within your workspace that you would no longer have access to. So aka.ms/trifabric, please, it's free. Kick the can, kick the tires. We love the community. Hopefully you're already engaged with some of the Fabric community. Maybe you're on Twitter, maybe you're on LinkedIn. Just connect with us, share your thoughts, especially with these user group communities. This is where I love asking questions like, oh my gosh, what do you think? I'm excited as a Power BI user. Hopefully you are too, with kind of looking at just all of the things that are now available on the point and click. And then at the very end here, we are doing kind of our big conference event again next year. So if you want to come and hang out with us in Las Vegas, I know the guys in a queue and a lot of other folks will be there. I will be hanging out as well, doing a post-conference for the day after Dashboard and Day with Microsoft Fabric. We'll be drilling into some of these experiences a little bit more, kind of over the course of like a 6 to 8 hours. But I would always love to kind of see folks, whether it be there or kind of through the different networks. But please try Fabric, very top link. I'll go ahead and paste that here. Looks really easy and intuitive. Yes. That's what I was just trying to get the point across. Like, if you have Power BI talents and skill sets today, you are already in Microsoft Fabric day one. Didn't have to learn anything new. And I think that's so cool. Awesome. Rebecca, I'm going to pass it back to you. If you want to take us home, or if anyone had any questions that we wanted to kind of drill into, because I know we covered a lot, but I just wanted to share my excitement with everyone.
No, we really appreciate it. That's awesome. I don't know, does anyone have any questions? If so, feel free to unmute yourself or pop it in the chat.
Awesome. And there's such a great chat going on here too. So I'll catch up on a lot of these. If there are any items here that I may have missed, I'll go ahead and kind of follow up in response to. But please feel free to connect, like I said, just through LinkedIn or other things. I'll drop that here for my LinkedIn follow. And then if you'd like the deck or any of the other material, I'll go and share that with Rebecca if there's like a repository that people can go and grab.
Yeah, if you send it to me, I can add it to the the meetup page, and people can access it there. And we'll also share it once the recording is available. It'll probably not get posted until next week, just with Ken being away. So, but we will be sharing the recording as well. And yeah, thanks so much, everyone.